I'm going to call the meeting to order. I typically call the meeting to order in our first meeting of the year in which we do election of officers, and then I turn that meeting over to the chairperson, and then he or she runs the meeting from that point. So I'll call the meeting to order. The second item on the agenda is election of the chair. At this time, I'll entertain a nomination for chair.
I move to nominate Ben Lee for chair.
I'll second that.
The motion is second to nominate Ben. Ben, do you accept?
I do accept.
All right, any other nomination? Seeing no other nominations, I would like to entertain a motion to close nominations for chair and cast the unanimous ballot for Ben Lee as chairperson.
Do I need a motion to close? Motion to close.
Brett, you want a second?
Yep.
All right, I got a motion and a second by Brett, motion by John, second by Brett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. That motion's carried at this time. I will turn it over to Ben for election of vice chair. Do you want this?
First, I'll just say I've got big shoes to follow, so thank you, John, for all that.
Yeah, I just maybe, can I make
Please,
a quick comment?
please, yes.
I've been chair for, I think it's 11 years now. And I've always said every year, I really would love other people to come into this, kind of rotate through. And I think this is a really good opportunity, so I appreciate you stepping up and, accepting nomination. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now bear with me here, we're trying to remember the rules of how this works. All right, I guess item number 3 is the election of vice chair. And with that, entertain a motion. I will entertain a motion.
I move to nominate Brett Butler.
And I will
as
second.
vice chair.
I'll second that.
And then I think you have to.
Would you accept that?
Okay.
Accept that?
And yes, if there's any other nominations?
Now, are there any other nominations?
Nope.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, I move to close nominations.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Then all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
All right.
You gotta sit over here, though. We're switching.
Where's the gun?
You should have kept the nameplate, you're swearing.
All right. First item up is item number 4, approval of minutes from April 9th. Some we've all had a chance to see these.
Move to approve.
Okay, John's moved to approve.
Second.
Second from Chelsea. Okay, are there any comments or discussion on the minutes? If not, I will say all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes. Item number 5, conflicts of interest. Does anybody have anything to declare as far as a conflict of interest?
I have a possible conflict of interest with the Greasy Park item, so I just want to declare that now. I may need to abstain from the vote, just depending on how the conversation goes with rights and naming and such like that, so, okay.
Okay, no other conflicts? Then I will go to item number 6. Are there any public comments other than I know you guys are talking to the agenda? Well, I think you guys are all in the conversation. We will move on to item number 7, the AARP taxes report.
I'll do a brief intro, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ed, and Ed is going to represent the AARP Tax Foundation. We've been doing that program here longer than I've been here, so it's been many, many, many years. And Ed, I don't know how long you've been actually doing the program itself, but it's been a long time. It was at the old senior center. It's been moved around as we moved, but in here after COVID, it's really kind of picked up in the last few years. And Ed is going to talk about the program itself and what they do here and how it impacts our community. So Ed, I know you guys also got a report sent to you from Ed, so feel free to look at that, and then I'll turn it over to Ed. So Ed, thank you very much for coming.
Sure, glad to be here. And first of all, I'd really like to thank the staff at Parks and Rec. They are really great in helping us out. Occasionally we'll need Xeroxing or we'll need other things, and they've always been really, really cooperative, and we really appreciate it. It makes our life a lot easier. The AARP program actually started probably a good 20 years ago when a bunch of volunteers got together and helped seniors fill out homestead tax credits. They didn't do federal taxes, they didn't do state, they just did the homestead tax credit. And it's been at least 15 years, because our oldest tax counselor has been with us for 15 years, that we've been with AARP. AARP and IRS provided funding for the program. And a lot of people say, well, are you guys all, retired tax counselors? And actually, we're not. We have 11 tax counselors. These are the people that actually fill out the taxes. And we have people that are, I worked in administration at the clinic. We have a geometry teacher. We only have one person that actually was an accountant. I have another person that taught accounting. But it's really a diverse, one of the people is a pharmacist. Is really diverse people who are, we sort of enjoy doing it. We get 2.5 days of training from an IRS certified instructor. I need to take 3 exams and pass them. And then we need to submit practice problems to the IRS to gain our qualification to be qualified to do taxes. And a lot of people think you have to be an ARP member, you have to be retired to come to us to do taxes, but that's not true. We'll actually take anybody. There's no income cap. Our restrictions are, because we're volunteers, we're limited in the complexity of the tax return we can do. And for example, people who got divorced in the tax year, that in Wisconsin becomes a very difficult tax return. Married filing separate is also a very difficult tax return. We cannot do businesses, and even we cannot do tax returns for people who have a business that carry inventory or depreciation. But after that, we pretty much can do everything. So retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, income statements, pretty much anything like that. This year, we did 714 taxes. The stats that I shared with you also include, we do taxes at Neillsville about 6-7 days a week. So there's about 100 of those people are done at Neillsville. The other 614 were done at Marshfield. As a comparison, last year we did 662. So the program is definitely growing. Again, we'll pretty much take anybody. There's no income caps, there's no requirements to be an ARP member, not to be retired. An interesting trend that I've seen over the years, like I said, when we started out, all we did was homestead tax credits. And if you're not familiar with homestead tax credit, it's for people with an exceedingly low income. It helps them either with their property tax or with their rent. When I started doing taxes, I thought homestead tax credit, you had to own the house, but not. It's also for people who rent. For example, in 2020, 68% of the people that we helped had homestead tax credit. And this past year it was 23.5%. And so you wonder why. And I've been doing taxes for 8 years now, and the state has an income cap to qualify for homestead tax credit, and that income cap is not indexed for inflation. So it's been the same for the last 10 years at least. And as people, as their Social Security benefit goes up, as we've had higher increases in Social Security over the years, a lot of people are getting dropped off because they're over the $24,000 cap. And that cap is for, doesn't make a difference if you're married or single, it's $24,000. Try to live on $24,000 after you pay your property taxes. There's a lot of people we see, I really don't know how those people survive on the limited amount of income they have. So, questions, I guess?
Just maybe a comment. Like really impressive volunteer hour numbers. So I would say as a community, thank you. I think there's obviously a huge need for this, just seeing the increase year over year. So.
Yeah, you're welcome. And there have also been, say, well, are we taking business away from the professional preparers? There have been a fair amount of professional preparers in the Marshfield area who have retired. And I know data flow, they're not taking, a lot of them are not taking new clients. And a lot of them really don't even want to do the clients, the low-income people that we do. So, you know, we're really not hurting the people who are doing this for a living.
How do you guys communicate, like when and where availability is?
We require appointments,
Okay,
and we do Monday afternoons and Wednesday mornings. And we use United Way's 211 number to schedule appointments.
okay.
Great, well, I know this is just a report only, so I think, thank you.
You're welcome.
See, I didn't get to Wausau yet.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Excellent. All right, great.
Thanks, Ed.
Up next, item number 8 is the Greasy Park Playground.
I'm not gonna do much of an intro because they were in front of you guys just last month in October, and they've been busy and busier than ever. And they're here tonight to kind of give an update. Do you have any handouts? Like, we can hand out those stuff if you want. But I'll turn it over to the group for their update.
So the first thing that we're passing out is a letter from Forward Bank. I'm Lindsay Safford. I work at Forward Bank. I'm a nonprofit banker.
Abby Meyer, Staff Construction, Project Manager.
Bill Thomas, Prevention Genetics, Senior Facilities Tech.
And we're missing Connie Mikulski. She works at First State Bank, and she's also on our team. So the first letter there is a pledge for Forward Bank to donate $100,000 towards Greasy Park Playground. And they also do have naming rights with that donation. So they would like to name the new playground at Greasy Park Forward Fun Zone. So we're looking for approval for that. If that is okay, there will be a media release tomorrow morning announcing that to the public, and it will be on behalf of our committee as well as Parks and Rec, if that's okay. So that would be the first thing that we're looking for approval, is for the name, which would be Forward Fun Zone.
Do you want to go through everything else first before we take action?
Sure. Yep. So the second thing would be the final location and the layout that we've selected.
That's right.
So the new location would be that site.
We've selected this one. I know it was talked about at our October meeting as well, that was a possibility, but ultimately we're kind of we proceeded with the assumption that we will receive approval here. Unless there's questions, we can talk about that.
Can you give me a kind of an idea of like where the other one is?
Right down here.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Okay, yeah,
All right,
so-
I got my bearings now.
Yep.
So it's the nice thing too, it's, you know, it's on the higher ground, drainage is good. It's in between the two parking lots, kind of evenly spaced out there too, and also the bike trail is all accessible.
And is there a walking path from the new spot down to like the restroom facility?
This
Yes.
is the
Yep.
walking path. Yep, the existing walking path goes right by where we would.
Would there be any need for the city to have to contribute more sidewalks or other infrastructure in the location?
That's all part of our
Yeah,
project.
we have that as part of the project to connect to the existing walkway. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So any wheelchair strollers, bikes, stuff like that, it'll be pavement to pavement.
The community seems really happy that it's more central to the soccer fields for those families that are watching soccer games. That seems like it's very appreciated by a lot of people, so.
I think that kind of fits into what we were thinking even before this, right?
We planned on putting a much smaller
Right.
facility just north of those basketball courts. So
Over there.
it's just,
Yeah, I remember that.
it's
In the
more
same
central,
area.
we
Yeah,
thought
very
more
similar.
centrally located.
Yep.
We didn't anticipate such a generous group of people to go out and fundraise, so why would we put
Yeah.
a much larger one over there, so.
Yeah, I believe this was like 25,000 square feet. and
That's
we're
25,000, yeah, and our playground that we're looking at is about 19,900 square feet.
It would have a difficult time actually fitting into the other two locations at this point.
Yeah, it wouldn't at this point, right?
And it would save us quite a bit of money. We don't really foresee putting any, or much infrastructure in, any drainage and stuff like that. It looks like we should have natural draining there without any cause.
So Bach Excavating is on board to help us with site prep this summer/fall. They're gonna be walking it with us here in the next couple of weeks to see what's all going to need to be done, but ultimately they are on board with that.
So one question that we did have at this meeting is we're looking at the option to install lights. It would be
Security lighting.
security lighting around the playground that would be lighting specific to the playground. And there was some discussion as to whether or not when the land was donated by the Greasy family, if that was part of that contract where there was not supposed to be any lighting. But with the new versions of playground lighting, it's not like light pollution, you know, and it would be controlled lighting on a specific area. And we've noticed like that there's, you know, graffiti on the cement by the concession stand, and we thought for safety that it may deter those individuals from staying there too late at night. So when the lights do turn off at a certain hour, it's time to get everybody off the playground type of thing.
Yeah, the family, the Greasy family, didn't want soccer complex with lights, and they, you know,
Yeah.
back in the day, that was a big deal.
Got it.
The site lighting they're talking about is very minimal.
Yeah.
We already have site lighting in Greasy, just around the concession stand and the parking lot and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's not like it's a lit soccer field, we're not lighting a soccer field. It's not a 60-foot pole, it's gonna be probably low,
Directional.
more directional, just safety lighting, like I said. So-
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. Just knowing what these guys put up with vandalism and such, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so we do have 2 renderings that are in their final stages. If anyone does want to peek at those. The first one is really, I think, well, I'll let you decide.
We're gonna pass them around, but we're not giving you copies yet.
They're very
Preliminary.
and
Well, they're not really preliminary. I guess we've had quite a few back and forth and iterations of them. However, there are just a few things that would be tweaked, but ultimately the structures that are shown here, and this one doesn't have a company name, I apologize, but that one's Little Tykes. They were struggling to get done today, but ultimately, those are our 2 options, and like I said, the structures are kind of nailed down pending this approval here. It would just be maybe moving things around for some final tweaks, but ultimately, everything's there that we would be entertaining.
We worked with multiple different vendors and looked at different equipment that's perhaps new and all-inclusive. It has an obstacle course theme. We looked at equipment that Marshfield does not currently have, or the surrounding areas. We interviewed a lot of individuals in the community to see like, hey, what are you looking for? A lot of people said we really want shade structures, we want walking trails, we really, really want board and place burger service. That was probably the number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 was the shade structures, we really want shade.
Yeah.
And we want seating, so we're gonna be doing park benches and picnic tables as well. And then, as you can see around the perimeter of the 2 to 5 year structures, that's all fenced in.
And it won't be a chain link fence as shown, it will be some kind of composite material that donors that donate $1,000 or more can have their names or family names listed on those panels. But that's something we need to work out, and we have contingency money in the budget for that, so.
And then the larger structure for 5 to 12 years, that's all open area. And there's also the 2 zip lines that are the 50-foot zip lines that are the self-returning or self-propelling. Again, all-inclusive options as well. So,
This is all dependent that we reach our goal of 750 or more.
Yeah.
Right now, we're at like 560, so I mean, we're really, really close to it. And obviously, we've only started fundraising since January, and in this short time that brings, but we're really, really hopeful that we'll make that goal by the end of the year.
So on the second rendering, this is Little Tykes. They did not put their name on here, but they're tweaking it yet. They were struggling with software issues today. But ultimately, they did not show where Port in Place would be. We know for certain that it would be in the small 2 to 5 age area that is fenced in, and then in strategic locations for those structures that require it. However, it's important to note that both of these designs will not have pour-in-place rubber surfacing in the complete, for the complete playground. That's just not possible at this $750,000 goal.
You want to tell them exactly what you found out with the port in place, like how costly it is?
Yes.
Like how?
It's like $28 a square foot, so the whole thing would be like $550,000 for.
To do the whole playground, it would be 500.
Just
over
the
$500,000,
surface,
just the
not the
surface.
playground.
So what we learned too is like in high fall zones, like buy a slide, buy a swing set, it's actually a deeper,
Thickness.
a thickness in those high fall zones for safety. So it might be like 4.5 inches in high fall zones, and then maybe like 1.5 inches in like the walkway areas, which is nice and like spongy. But there may be some tweaks here and there, and if there are anything, we'll certainly update you. But we don't see these being too far off from what you're seeing right now.
In the second drawing, the Adirondack chair is missing, but we do plan to have a chair for photo ops with the playground behind it. That is shown in the first, yeah. In the first
So when do you make a decision on what design?
So I guess we ultimately wanted you guys to look at the structures, and if there's anything that you would not want us to include for any reason, but otherwise just a preliminary approval of the structures as we have them laid out. If there's anything that's not allowed, we wanted to talk about that. Ultimately, the final rendering that is chosen will probably be here again, just to have your official blessing on that as well. But we're looking at one of these two options, so
Yep.
if there's anything you see now.
Has the department been involved in the design?
Yeah, loosely.
Okay.
We would do the exact, probably same thing as what they're doing.
Yeah.
We would go out and talk to different vendors. We would probably do a different approach, but that's just the public, we would have to put it out to all vendors, which means a lot more work, and a lot more decisions. But they're working with companies that are very reputable and who have done projects in the area.
And we did start with 5. We talked to 5 different companies and narrowed it down to these 2.
That's exactly what we would have done
Many
too.
different
And Lee
Yeah.
Rec,
parameters.
the first one they showed is Lee Rec, he's actually done jobs in the city of Lee, and they're doing another one for St. John's.
And we did reach out to a couple of different references too, just to get feedback on, hey, how did your project go? And
Which was helpful.
that
Yes.
helped rule out
Yeah.
some options.
Yeah.
And whatever they provide for these amenities have to follow their playground installation guidelines.
Yep.
So it's not like they can install something that does not up to ADA compliant guidelines and fall zone
That's
guidelines.
kind of where I was,
Yeah, they have to adhere to it. We don't actually have to, so they're responsible to come.
Okay.
So we're passing out the pricing as well. We asked these playground equipment suppliers to price their stuff right around the $700,000 mark. Granted, a few of them, the first one, Lee Recreation, does not have the zip lines included because they don't provide those, so we would need to purchase those from another company, Gerber Leisure. But it's right around $700,000 to leave that $50,000 cushion for the perimeter sidewalk, which Stern Ice has agreed to donate or give us a deal on a discount on the concrete, and then some of those other contingency items that would come up, the park benches, picnic tables, that kind of thing.
A question for you, what about the lighting? If we were to go through the lighting, is that in the budget, or is that something you're looking at the city?
Well, luckily, my husband owns an electrical business, and he agreed to donate that labor and material
Nice.
for that,
Awesome.
if we go that route.
So do you guys have a preference on the design yet?
They don't want to tell you.
You're not going to tell us? I'll tell you which one I like.
Which one do you like?
I like this.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why do you like it?
I just think it looks cooler and it has more shade structure. As far as, the usability piece of it, I mean, I can't remember when I was that young, so I can't tell you, right? But, I mean, just the looks of this and then kind of I like the shade structure, the way it's laid out.
The colors, like I said, the colors, I think, have what, 500 colors that we can
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
We can
Some
still
of the colors
tweak those,
that-
I'm sure we will.
I like the color.
Or do you like how it's
The color
colored out?
palette is the
Okay.
structures and the colors of
Yeah.
each particular structure.
Be good.
Yep. Yeah,
This one
I
was
mean,
fun.
I
It
think
has
my only
the-
recommendation is find out what other communities like
It's like
and
the
don't like.
warrior wall thing.
When we did this movie pool, we learned more about what they didn't like. And I that was very impactful.
And we have had quite a few
Yeah.
Facebook posts about that to try to get
Yeah.
some community involvement. We had almost 200 comments from community members on what they wanted.
Yeah.
I guess not a lot of them mentioned what they didn't want, but we were ultimately.
I was thinking more like things that never get played with, you know, you
Oh,
spend
right.
$50,000 on something that they say, boy, kids don't
Right.
touch that.
Well,
We've been doing our own research too with that, with our own kids,
Yeah, I'll
so.
tell you, probably the cheapest item in that whole park is the Gaga ball pit.
Yep.
And that's like one of the most excitable pieces.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
I never knew what one was till last year myself, and then when we brought it up, and all the, they're like, oh, Gaga ball, and we're all like, what?
Lindsay and I are both on the grant PTO as well, so we kind of get feedback from there, and they're actually putting in a Gaga ball pit there as well.
And it sounds like you guys have gone out and talked to other communities too, or, yeah, and I think that's kind of where Ben was going, like, and I remember when we did the pool,
I
right?
remember they were all saying, don't do those types of falls, and
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want fountains.
Right.
Is
Um,
this
that
one
shoot
here,
up.
and this is
Yeah, no, the water stuff's downtown, that's we're a whole different thing there. There's a creek if they wanna go play in the water. But, yeah, everything that you look at there, and the coolest thing is it's all inclusive. If you look at you went from one bracket to the other, there's placeable wheelchairs that roll up. There's places kids can crawl around. To me, like I said, I really, really wanted the port in place, and it'd be nice to do the whole thing, but obviously, at this point, we're not looking at doing that. But to me, it's like having the wheelchair accessible where they can go to the little kid area. Out of the two zip lines, one's gonna have a chair in it, so, you know, no matter what disability.
And there are transfer stations on these structures for someone in a wheelchair. They would obviously need some help with that, but they can transfer onto a slide or what have you, and get back into the wheelchair from there. So there are structures that are components of the structures that are meant for that specifically.
So would there be a Gaga ball pit in either one?
In both.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Yes, even if, yes.
I think that was like
Yep.
one of the number one.
I just hadn't seen it on the Little Tyke one, so.
Yes, yep, they're missing that in the Adirondack chair, I believe.
Okay.
And so the ground material will be the wood chips in both?
It would be wood chips in areas that don't have the port in place, so a combination of wood chips with the port in place.
Okay.
Just to mention, we are gonna have a community night picnic in the park on August 12th from 4 to 7 at Greasy Park, just to create some awareness in the community for those that don't have Facebook. That's been our main marketing tool. And we're gonna have like food trucks and kids activities, concession stand, and all proceeds will go towards the playground. But it's mainly an event to raise awareness. And we'll get some feedback too as far as, you know, people attending. There's a lot of people in the vicinity of the existing park that are looking for certain things like that, shade structures and stuff like that, so.
So I think just touch on that, there is port in play or there's not? There would be something just right on the players.
The age 2 to 5 area in both
Perfect.
renderings will have the port in place throughout the entire fenced-in area, and then a few other areas within the older kids' non-fenced area will also have the port in place. If it needs to be wheelchair accessible, stroller
It's
accessible.
like the zip lines there, you really don't need port in place there, you know, there's a.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, there might be something, like I said, where, you know, to connect it from, you know, the sidewalk to the equipment, there might be something there like that, smaller spots.
Sure.
And to give you an idea of cost too, just the small amount of port in place that's in both of these designs is still over $100,000. It's about 125 in the Little Tykes, and then I think probably right around 100 in the League Recreation version. So that's what it gets you.
Okay.
So we would start excavating around like September, October, late fall in the new area. And then the install, we're hoping for like around March and April.
Weather dependent.
Like
of course.
a grand opening in May or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Memorial Day or something like
That'd
that.
be awesome.
I have one question about, for you guys. Have you thought about what you'll do with the old area at all?
I think we'll eventually phase it out.
Okay.
As that new playground will just get all the attention.
Yep, I mean, you're like, is it gonna take money to knock it down and to, you know,
Yeah, but that's, I don't think too bad.
okay.
I think we take it down piece by piece as it deteriorates, and when it's time to go, it's time to go, and we make that determination, whether it's salvageable, we may salvage it, if it's worth salvaging, if it's not, it's not. And so that was that's why we're at this point, because some of the stuff is just not salvageable anymore, and some of it is still salvageable. And we're like, okay, we have to make a decision here. So I'm really glad they stepped up and helped out so much.
I have a question for Ben. From a maintenance perspective, I mean, it's great when things are new, but long-term, do any of these designs seem like they'd have more maintenance you guys would have to do, less?
You know, all the newer playgrounds nowadays are all metal. They think about long-term maintenance, they're under warranties, I'm sure you've talked about
I
some
believe if you
warranties.
look at the one sheet, it shows warranties. It goes anywhere from 5 years to 100 years. You know, of course, it's not post-scale, but it's still supposed to last a while. The nice thing is, even like port in place, if you had like say if you had like in the swings where they're a high wear area, they can cut a section out, but it's just a section. Ultimately, we're looking at the only maintenance you'd really have to do. I mean, I'd like to see all port in place if we raise the money, but the wood chips would have to be renewed every few years or maintained.
Yeah,
Other than that-
usually it's wood chips and then your moving parts wear out quicker. But that's just obvious things.
But likely less maintenance than what's required
Oh.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Than wood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And composite, yeah.
The biggest thing you have to worry about is mowing, and you have a lot of mowing to do out there anyway, so.
Do both designs have similar peak heights? Like, I'm just trying to get a sense of the scale of, like, how
I think
many,
it's 50-foot height.
okay, for the
So
highest.
The Little Tykes, though, I believe does go a little taller. That's what they're kind of known for, is their impressive heights on their structures.
Okay.
A tower structure like that is actually at JoJo's Jungle in Wausau, if you ever want to take a look. But it's impressive. I think the Lee Recreation structure, though, is not too far behind. It's still quite impressive, so. We wanted that wow factor from the
Yeah.
parking lot, so.
Uh-huh.
Bunch of guns.
I think the tallest one we have is at SJ Miller.
You know, the other nice thing too is if somebody ever wants to donate money in the future or stuff, I mean, we've had some talks with some people that might want to do, you know, some later donations. And at that point, you know, they can remove the chips and put more of the port in place then too.
Awesome. Right. I think Spirit Time,
Yeah, I just want to congratulate you guys again, because
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
think this is amazing.
That's
what you
been
guys
the
have done.
community.
I was pessimistic when you guys came in, I was like, we'll see.
Well,
I'm blown away.
You weren't the only one.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just, I mean, to sit there and hit, you know, 100,000, 200,000, 300, and it's like, oh my goodness, like now where we're at, and, you know, there's a lot of other interests, and a lot of people, to tap them for this year, a lot of people already were, you know, they already have their commitments. So saying, you know, we're looking at even next year, you know, raising some more, beginning of the year, end of the year stuff. But to raise this much money, I mean, we're all just blown away. So no matter what, as long as we have approvals, this is gonna happen. The money's there to do something nice.
Let's do this. The first item, just to be clear, I think I heard 3 different items to vote on. The first one being the naming. If I understand it correctly, you are looking for the authority to name the primary play area Forward Fun Zone. Is that correct?
Ben, before, I do want a quick thing before we vote. So just a quick statement, I would ask then, you talked about shade, we kind of touched on that, but that maybe is an option if you guys engage with the city forester for planting any trees for shade, if that would be included in that planning process or just as an option for some shade, since that's already kind of happening and something to consider, so.
Well, we talked, since they
We actually did talk about that last meeting.
Yeah, if they were included, just so that that connects.
Because Justin said that they're already looking with your forestry division, they're planting
Yeah.
some stuff.
You have a
Right.
plan for that, so.
Yeah, and just not to say that when we get in next year and see it all final, I know Shallow gave us a really nice deal last year when we did the trees, grant. We planted 13 trees out there. So that's not to say that we can't plant some other ones that are gonna be, you know, faster growing shade trees, but obviously, you know, it'll have to come down to.
Right, just so it's connected. And then last, before you vote, Connie is my wife, but there's no conflict of interest, there's no financial gain, so just to be clear, that's, Connie's on the committee and part of the leadership group, again, my spouse, but there's no financial gain, so Justin agrees. We're good to vote? Yeah, I mean,
Sure, I agree.
I mean, I'm Yep. So with that, I can make the motion to.
Yeah, so the first one would be, the request is to name the play area the Forward Fun Zone. Like, we get a motion on that.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Chris, we got first, can I get a second?
Second.
Chelsea. Okay, any further discussion on that?
I'll abstain from this because I work at Forward Bank. So I'll stay out of this vote.
Okay, anything else? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Item number 2 is, we just think it's important to verify that we approve of the new location move to the north side of the park.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by John.
I'll second.
Second by Brett. Okay, any comments or conversation on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, excellent.
And
Application.
who second that?
Brett.
I second.
Brett.
Oh, I thought she did. No. Okay, what was it, Chelsea? I can't.
Nope. think
I seconded the
Chelsea-
first
Okay,
thing.
okay.
John, you did the motion.
Okay.
Second?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, and then the last one is the request to add the security lights, a more directional type of focus on those for site security.
Motion to approve.
John's got a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chris. Any conversation on that? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
You guys aren't looking for direction from them on pick the options, you're just looking for opinions, right?
Are you wanting?
Yeah, or if
to-
there's anything that you want us to steer away from, where we need to change our design.
Yeah, like, but right now is an opportunity to kind of say that.
Yes, the recreation, we met with Pat a couple of times, and basically, I mean, we kept adding stuff more and more to them, and he came up with some really good drawings. Like I said, with the other little tykes there too, they were kind of like the last guy into the game, so they've been rushed quite a bit, but, you know, like I said, it depends what comes to our budget too, you know, and that's gonna dictate everything. You know, if we really hit that 750 mark, we're gonna have a really nice park. I mean, if all of a sudden somebody wants to donate a whole bunch more, we're gonna have an even better park, so.
Yeah, I'd say you're quite a bit further along than I expected, you know, even in the design part of it. And you guys got both feet in here, so I think it's looking really good. I've got no further suggestions.
And I'd almost just challenge, we just saw this now for the first couple of minutes. I think it might be.
Well,
for us
you know,
to
we've
say,
been working,
Yeah.
literally, we just, what
Would it
we.
make sense to have them come back with the final?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Pat just had the renderings here.
Why don't we do this? If you guys want to, come back when the design, your design is final.
Sure.
We can give them less.
Which one did you like? Are you gonna tell me or not?
I'm not gonna say.
It wasn't the one I picked, was it?
So-
It wasn't the one I picked.
Would you,
Yeah.
John, would you pick?
I like that other.
He likes the little Pikes one.
Are you gonna have community, like, just like as a, with that next, community event, have them see
The
different ones
renderings
and
will
kind
be
of?
public before that, well,
Oh,
before
okay,
August,
okay.
yeah.
What we're really gonna do
What?
is kind
I
of
don't
comb
put
through
anything
them
with the minutes,
to
No,
see
they
right, because they're going back.
which one is most cost effective, which, you know, one has the longest warranty, just to make sure moving forward, this is gonna be a solid move for everybody.
Nice.
Okay. So will you guys then be kind of as a committee making the final decision on what you think it should look like?
Yes. and
And
then
bring to us?
get your
Yeah.
approval,
Okay.
yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Congratulations again.
All right, excellent. Up next, Wildwood Zoo animal acquisition.
Kyle Kirk is here as our zoo manager, trying not to answer
What
phones,
kind of
but
critters are you looking for?
Giraffes. No, gosh, no. My name's Kyle Kirk. If you don't know me, I'm the new zoo manager. I started in October. It is my intention, with your guys' permission, that we have the ability to acquire non-native animals for our collection. Right now, as a blanket statement, we only have North American game at our zoo. Now, if we turn to the other page where we can see the other non-native species for consideration, where I'm not talking about replacing any of the existing exhibits, I'm only talking about filling the rock exhibit. And for the rock exhibit, it makes a whole lot more sense to go with an animal that's non-native over native. It requires a bit of a history lesson, and without rambling, I'll teach you guys something. If you think about where the Audads and these Mouflon are from, the Mouflon are from Central Eurasia. A lot of people have lived there for millennium. And the Audads are from the coast of North Africa, where Carthage was, Rome was. For a number of years, 2,000 years ago, people have always had livestock. People have always had their sheep go up into the hills and graze. These non-native species have come across those animals. The weak ones that were susceptible to livestock diseases have passed away maybe 2,000 years ago now. Way later down the line, we had the Audads be brought to America as a hunting game animal in Texas. The Audads are actually out competing the desert bighorn because they are so adaptable. Right now, I only have 2 staff members, including myself, at the zoo. It makes a whole lot more sense to go for something that's going to be a lot more docile, that's not going to try to rip our heads off, that I can look at you guys and say that I have a better chance of keeping them alive for longer. We have another attachment here from the director of the Dakota Zoo, Terry Lincoln. I've been in good contact with him for a number of months now, but he has all 4 species, the Dall, the Bighorn, the Mouflon, and the Audads. And a little bit in his letter kind of constructs how much easier it is to take care of the Mouflon and the Aoudad towards the Dall and the Bighorn. Just for instance here, he said he had species of members of both species, Mouflon and Audads, living to 20 years at their facility, and they only have to trim their hooves maybe once a year instead of 2 or 3 times for the Dall or the Bighorn. So I have a lot of reasons why it may make more sense to bring in the non-natives instead of the natives. A certain mentor has told me to promise little and deliver a lot. So I do not want to say this in front of you guys, but it is my intention to have a breeding population of one of these hoofstock species at the zoo. I am not able to do it with the cervids. The CWD regulations are too tough. If I try to breed the bison, they're going to rip our heads off. Bison will run about through any fence that we build. I would like to have cars stretched around in a line all the way around the driving loop, just for a chance to catch a glimpse at one of our baby goats. I'm actually trying to start up a trading agreement with the Chippewa facility at the Irvine Park Zoo. They're kind of getting away from renting their hoofstock over the summer. They want to have animals that they can actually own and that they can care for long term. If I have 2 females and a male, I should maybe average 4 babies a year. I have their pastures up there are much larger than us. We could use them as a depository to get rid of our young stock while doing this for a couple of years to get the buzz from it. And if we look at these 2 non-native species, they are comparable. You know, we are still going to be able to give an educational narrative that these are high elevation species. You know, back to what I was saying, if we go back to the native species, the Native American people never had much livestock. They didn't have goats or sheep, let alone these Dall and these Bighorn are all the way up on the side of a mountain somewhere, where these Audads and the Mouflon are more adaptable. They're coming down, meeting at this sea level. You cannot expect a Dall or Bighorn's lungs to work correctly at this sea level, bringing them down, you know, from where they were designed or built to live in. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I think before we have a discussion, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve the non-native initiative. I did some research on those specific animals, and I think they're a really good idea, and it seemed like a good fit here. But I think this motion is more general, right? And just that we're basically saying change our policy, right? That's
to be able to change the website, because
Exactly.
the website right now says only North American,
Yep.
and we could change it to mostly North American.
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
that's all it's
So I'll
gonna
make
be.
a motion to do that, to approve the non-native initiative.
Second?
Okay, second by Chelsea, okay.
Okay.
Any discussion?
I oppose that.
You don't want to have the non-native species?
I think it's a really cool feature to have, to highlight the native. And I guess I don't know the story of why the mountain goats aren't there anymore. Is that just not
They're
possible?
biosecurity reasons. They both got fly strike, bacterial infection. Their lungs didn't work right. Kind of like that. It's something that it's documented years upon years where they had a group of bighorn that all passed away at 4 years old. It's not right. That shouldn't happen.
I'm not even so common. I've lived here 52 years, and I remember trying all the time. They're always trying to get the big ones, and they always die. They always die.
I simply don't want to have this discussion in another 3 years. I want something that's going to live there for 20.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, the bighorn sheep were designed to be up in the upper mountains. Here,
Yeah.
the summers are so humid, the lungs don't.
Yeah, and it's just at this sea level, it's at the air density, let alone the bighorn or I will not be able to reproduce the Dall or the bighorn with the resources that I have. They will try to charge me.
Goats, like just.
They top out at like 350 pounds. They can, if they get going with some speed, they can lock their head down. they could run over just about anybody. Even if I had a plywood fence, a plywood gate trying to like coax them around. Yeah, just with the staffing ability right now.
Yeah, I always thought it was kind of neat that we were in North American Zoo, but I really do like these animals in particular. And again, I'm sick of the turnover that we've had as well with bighorn sheep and any other species we can't seem to keep. So I'd like to be in favor of this, even though, you know, I was in favor of that as well. But I get your point, and I'd like to make that change as well.
I think one of the purposes too of North American was so we can exhibit the animals year round. So for the keep of the animals year round, I believe the two that Kyle's recommending here would be able to be in the pasture 12 months a year.
I apologize, I should have said that. These both align up with the USDA. We're under USDA regulations. The biggest thing, the biggest hoop I'm gonna have to jump through for like the Audads would maybe put a fence in front of their hard shelter and hang some burlap just so they could totally get out of the wind. But these are high elevation animals. They could walk on the side of a mountain somewhere. There's plenty of roadside zoos that have had them out with no hard shelter, and the Audads have done fine. But these are what we're gonna have to come across, and maybe I'd run an extension cord under the snow and have a heat light for them there. They're hardy.
Yeah.
They're survivable.
I want to piggyback to what Ken said. I mean, I remember the monkeys, peacocks, and it really came down to more of a function. The reason Marshall got away from it wasn't let's try to be North American. In essence, it was like, we can't afford to winter them. So that we were looking for the animals that we could just keep outside.
Yeah,
year-round.
yeah, it seems like a slippery slope of like, you know, just trying to fill the spot, but, you know, then getting more and more exotic animals that aren't meant to be here and are, you know, harder to keep. And yeah, it just seems like, where do you draw the line if you're taking out that specific wording of non-native?
Would each new
Well, I
animal
think,
be approved?
You know, I think that we, you know, I mean, Kyle's the zoo director, right? I mean, I have to rely on his expertise, you know, and, you know, we can all do our own research, but, you know, I have faith that we're not gonna put animals out here that aren't gonna survive in our, you know, environment.
Well, especially with staffing needs.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we brought this to Kyle's attention. He had great aspirations. We're like, okay, we gotta kind of bring this to the committee. It's a different angle. If it was a budgetary thing, let's just say it was quite exotic, and we couldn't. More exotic animal means more cost. We don't have more staff. We don't have more money. We have less staff, less money each year. So we knew that we couldn't afford exotic. And Kyle has no desire to make it more expensive. He wants to make it more hardy, more survivable. You heard him say it several times. We're not going to bring in lions and tigers and somehow pretend that it's going to be cheaper than a gray wolf.
For instance, just one large male bighorn is $6,000 for me to acquire them. One large Aoudad is $600. The exotic does not have to be more expensive. It can be cost effective. There's Aoudads in the state of Wisconsin.
Well, we did have a motion.
A motion and a second.
Any other conversation? If not, I guess we'll start with, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. All right, we're gonna jump into item number 10, facility rental policy. Justin, you have a little update to it?
Yeah, so recently we've had a couple requests from individuals and a couple incidents in which animals have been in parks or in buildings, and it kind of brought to our attention that we should probably look at our policy. We reviewed our policy. It has no reference at all about animals in buildings, animals in parks. We even have a zoo, and there's not even a reference to an animal, which is kind of weird. So we went back and we were like, okay, we need to add some stuff. My memo kind of summarizes why we were adding some information or some language in our policy about it. Really, there hasn't been a particular issue at hand, but we've had to tell people a couple times, no, you can't do that, or you can't have this, because they want to bring animals into Oak Avenue building. We do have people who bring their dogs into this building. They're not service dogs, they're not ADA dogs, they're just dogs. And we gotta kind of tell them, like, no, you can't do that. So we wanted to add some language. I would like to just jump, if I can, to the facility rentals policy itself and kind of go over the changes so everyone's aware of what the changes are. The first page is just a kind of no changes at all. Moving to the second page, page 2. And the strike-throughs are noted in blue, and then the new language is noted in red, so those are the changes to the policy. So this one is not really, number 3 does not deal with the animals, it just, we had to correct that because it wasn't right, is buildings you can rent for 2 years, but open-air shelters, it's a 1-year advance. Number 8, we no longer do nonprofit discounts, we just do tax-exempt discounts. And then we no longer do a non-occupied fee, they just have to rent that space. We really don't get that very much, hardly at all, but they just usually have to rent out both spaces, or they can rent it out per hour. We do have the per hour option as well. And then we'll get to B on page 3, which talks about the animals, and I'll kind of go through this, is dogs and cats, which are commonly referred to as pets, are permitted in general park areas on designated trails, but not allowed inside park buildings, shelters, pavilions, without prior written approval from the Park and Recreation Department. This allowance may not extend to sensitive areas within parks as designated by signage. This is typically the pool and the zoo. Number 2, animals including but not limited to birds, reptiles, amphibians, rodents, other domestic and non-domestic creatures are prohibited in all parks, buildings, shelters, pavilions, without prior written approval from the Park and Recreation Department. This includes mobile petting zoo, including but not limited to rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, other rodents, chickens, ducks, geese, goats, sheep, piglets, horses, donkeys, alpacas, llamas, and cows. Not sure why I made that list so long, but I did. So it's typically what you may see for like a petting zoo is people bringing these types of animals into the park. Number 3, requests for the presence of animals at specific events must be submitted in writing to the Park and Recreation Department at least 30 days in advance. Approval may be granted subject to conditions outlined by the department. Event organizers are responsible for ensuring compliance with all applicable local, county, state, federal laws, permits, and licenses related to animals. They are also responsible for any liability or negligence arising from the presence of animals at their event and must provide proof of adequate insurance. And number 4, service animals as defined by the ADA are permitted in all park areas, including buildings, shelters, pavilions, when accompanied by an individual with a disability. And number 5, pet owners are required to immediately collect and properly dispose of all pet waste in designated trash receptacles. Pets must be kept on a leash at all times while in park areas and on trails. Pet owners must maintain a physical control of their pet at all times, prevent it from running at large or engaging in aggressive behavior. And then kind of flipping over, pet owners are responsible for ensuring their pet does not bark excessively, chase wildlife, or otherwise disrupt the peaceful enjoyment of the park by park visitors. So that kind of sums up the animal policy itself. D is just another correction to the 2 years for buildings, 1 year for open air shelters. And moving on to page 5 is just some minor changes that were done prior to but never really updated in here. We have 7-hour blocks. We've had that for quite some time. I'm not sure when that change happened. We've had 7-hour blocks, and it's kind of noted with the time changes in there. And then jumping down to letter D under there, if they're renting the whole building, we make them rent the entire building. They can't like use that buyout of the whole thing. No one's gonna rent a van down there and have half of it used. You won't even, it just not, doesn't make any sense. It's never happened, it will never happen. The next few are kind of minor things. We did change our building hours on page 6 under number 1. Building is now Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 4:30, Friday, 7:30 to 12. Once again, the blocks of time have changed for this building, and it's reflected in there. Some minor things under loitering, it's just the ADRC's now here, Job Center has moved out. Moving on to the next one is just, someone thought we should have, believe it or not, shirts and bottoms and shoes are required, so that's fine. Rental times again, once again for the Oak Avenue Community Center were just adjusted. A lot of that stuff on the blue. Next one is like, we have put down floor covering on Oak Ave, and we no longer do that. We've had too many trip and fall incidents, and so we've now received the gym floor. We've also had New equipment purchased in the last few years, in which we have a machine that cleans that floor on a daily basis, which makes it a lot easier to clean an entire gym floor in a short amount of time. So we no longer put the mats down. Let's see, open air shelters, there's some minor changes there. We don't charge a service fee for hanging up a sign anymore. Next one's the stages. Under 3 for the stages, it says some events are privately rented, but the facility remains open to the public. We want to make sure that's clear. Sometimes we say it's a private event, meaning it's a private company rents it. It's not a public event like the Park and Recreation government's not putting it on, but usually they're almost always community-based events, so they want the community to come there. Number 4, it kind of notes that the facility will be open to the public for kind of all events. If we do have an individual or a group or a business that wants to rent it and make it exclusively private, they will have to come up with a way to secure the entire property, and that's with some sort of fencing, what that cost would be, and then have some sort of security to monitor that. No one, I think, has any interest in doing that. They would probably go to a hotel or a private business to do that. Number 5, it just notes that the Wenzel restroom has porta potty. I did make the request last month, John, about Wenzel flushable bathrooms, so hopefully Steve can get back to me soon. The next one, we did have a couple requests for a sound system and light tech, and then we proceeded to have those bands complain about the service in which we provided, and they didn't like the sound and light that was provided, so we were like, well, if you don't like it, then you can provide your own stuff. So rather than wanting their money back and doing it after the fact, we're just like, you just provide your own stuff. So we kind of learn your lesson from that stuff, so we don't provide any more sound or light from outside groups. Nikki still provides it for her stuff, but not for outside groups. We found that to be not very productive. So those are the changes our department's recommending for this policy.
I just have one issue with all this. I agree with everything. The item number 1 on page 3 of 9, under B, is the intent to eliminate pets from outdoor shelters? You know, I'm going to give you a couple examples, right? Maybe, you know, the shelters, the small shelters that are reservable around Wildwood Zoo. The Hamas Park shelter, it's open air, you know, like, I mean, is that the intent?
Yeah, I guess it would be the intent if you're eating food in that area and you have animals. But I don't know how, if you're the party organizer and you have your dog there, are you really gonna call the police on yourself or have the police come through and give you a citation? Probably not.
That's kind of what I was thinking, is that people, I mean, I see it all the time, right? And I probably do it. I just think that we should limit that. I mean, we should make that clear as to inside buildings, and allow it in
But are
shelters.
not allowed inside park buildings.
It does say inside park
shelters.
buildings, shelters, and pavilions.
I think what John's saying is you might want to read it something like inside park buildings, inside shelters, or inside pavilions.
Yeah, I mean, like the open air outdoor stuff, I mean, I'm just gonna say I don't agree that you can't have a dog there, or a cat, or whatever pet you want.
I think you can read it your way, but I think we just do.
Yeah, I think we could clear that up if that's what.
Yeah, walled structure or something, whatever
Yeah.
you want to do to frame.
Okay.
That's up to you guys if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Quick question, so just to clarify that on in front of me, the 1 year, 2 year, was that for reservation, that was the statement about change for was it 2 year for indoor facilities?
2 years for like this
And
building, and then like 1 year for like an open air shelter.
As far out that you could reserve.
Yeah.
tonight for the
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And last thing, for the nonprofit organizations, no longer discount. So that's, what is that, page 2, item 8.
Yes.
So that's going away now, or like, maybe explain what you do?
Yeah, we haven't done the nonprofit discount. The nonprofit discount itself is a tax exempt, so they don't pay the tax on it. So rentals of buildings are taxable.
And they used to get half off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve with the changes of the inside the shelters and pavilions as made by John.
I'll make a motion, yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brett. Okay, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thanks. Thanks, everyone. Justin,
I have to be careful not to say chairman, but.
I'm watching you. I'm giving you a little grace.
I have to stop myself. I can't say.
Okay,
We don't need one.
now, we have 6 months, so I'm just gonna ask you, Justin, you want to hit the highlights on item 11?
Yeah, so I want to apologize, I did not include the policy in the packet. It's at your place right now, it's got a maroon title on top. That's the policy in reference that I thought it was in there, but it wasn't. So when I looked at it again, I'm like, oh, I gotta hand it up tonight. So that's the policy we're looking at dissolving. So there's a lot of information here on these 2 pages, and in essence of time, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But what we have done historically is we've always worked with United Way and the right to play for all. Someone says, hey, do you have a scholarship program? We say, yeah, it's right to play for all. We've now done the free passes for the pool since the beginning of the new Vanderhay, but in the last 3 years, working with United Way as well as the foundation, in which individuals get free passes. Ashley Winch at United Way hands out the NOW program, which is an addition on the weekends for those who qualify. They get 5 free passes in their bags each weekend. They hand it out in the last time of the year, so it's typically in June, end of May, depending on when the school is done. And they get it, and then it's redeemable whenever they attend the pool. So if that's a Saturday at 11 or noon, that's fine. If it's a Tuesday, it's fine. If it's June, July, and August, it doesn't expire. It's good for that year. Before, we always did like a Monday and Wednesday free swim, but that was really Monday and Wednesday from 11 to 12. That was the only time you could go there for free, otherwise you couldn't. And if your family wasn't available at that time, you just couldn't enjoy the pool. So this way, we've kind of opened it up a lot more, plus these donors give money to the foundation. And so they get a tax deductible foundation, and then they help pay, they redeem it. So once the person turns in the pass, we take that pass, we count it, we give the invoice to the foundation, they write us a check to cover that cost. So it's kind of a zero-sum loss to the city, but it's a really good way to give back to those who can't afford to go to Vanderhay. And if they want more passes, they have the ability to ask for more passes too. So we're never discouraging that, we're always encouraging it. But this way, it's a lot more, I guess, open to those families, rather than just saying it's a Monday, Wednesday at 11. It's really open to whatever day or time you and your family want to go. And we found that there are some families who buy a season pass, and they may go, there's quite a few kids that may go a lot, but like from a family's perspective, they'll go 5 times maybe at the most. We don't get a ton of repeat users. So these families who may come to the pool, they may come once or twice, most likely they're not going to come 5 times. So we found this to be a much better way of doing it. Working with United Way and working with Right to Play for All, and the foundation has been such a more advantageous, and I'm like, well, we should look at our policy. Kind of started with the animal thing, and I'm like, oh, what is this policy? Like, we don't even do this. I've been here for 10 years, we've never done this once. And like, we don't use the WPRA funds for a scholarship. You guys have never determined, and I mean, John, you've been doing this for 12 years, you guys have never determined how much money we can give in scholarships out. We've never used it. We've always used Right for Play for All. So let's just clean this up. It's not a non-existent policy. It shouldn't even be here.
So is your request just to have this, just strike this out?
Well, we would strike the actual policy because we're not even doing it. We're currently, and probably say, keep doing what you are doing, is working through United Way. United Way and the foundation don't want to be in the policy because then they feel like their hands are tied. So if their donors stop, or they stop, their mission or their board stops, then now they feel forced to do it. They're like, we want to just keep it open and honest and free, not necessarily put it in a policy, because then they feel now we're hands are tied and we have to do it.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, I thought that was weird. When I first read this, and I thought it was weird that there wouldn't be a policy. The problem I have with it is that, I mean, it needs to be enacted fairly and consistently, right, by all the staff. And maybe it's not a policy, maybe it's a procedure. Just as long as there's a procedure that maybe doesn't need to be a policy.
That's
I
been
wanna
our,
make sure
that's
that-
been our procedure this whole time, is
Exactly,
people
yeah.
inquire,
Yeah.
and we have the links on our websites, we have the flyers
Yeah.
for them, we give them that, and we've been doing it. We just kind of like haven't been doing this, and
Yeah.
Amanda's been here for 5 years, she's never heard of it, she never
Yeah.
remembers. Amy in our office has been here for almost 25 years.
Yep.
She's like, I don't remember the last time we even did this.
Yeah, I think we're probably talking about two different things, right? I think that the first thing is, get rid of the current policy.
Right.
But the second thing is, with this, is are we following this consistently? And as long as you, as a department, are following this consistently, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Because you'll get complaints, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's,
And those complaints will trickle either to you or to the council or to someone else.
yeah. I would go ahead.
With that caveat?
What's that?
Would you want to make a motion with that?
No,
caveat?
I don't think it needs to be that way. I don't think the motion needs to do that, because really all we're doing as a committee is dissolving a policy.
But with that being said, I would entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Dissolve this policy.
Dissolve
Dissolving
scholarship
this policy.
program, policy 6.02.
First by John,
I'll second.
second by Chesky. Okay, any further discussion on that? If not, signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Up next is the reports. See, Dan's not here, Scott.
I'll do most of them, and then I'll make Kyle do the Zoom. 'Cause it's easier. Recreation, under the senior center, normal activities have been going fine, things have been going great. We do have our health fair coming up on October 3rd. The ADRC meal site has been going really good, they have good attendance. Do you need one? Oh, there's.
It's in.
I got it.
Programming, tennis finished up in March. We have open pickleball, it's pretty much gonna be wrapping up. They'll go into Oak Ave when it rains or the weather's bad, but they've been really, the courts have been super busy at Brame. I can't believe it when I drive by. I was there on one Saturday, I think there was 8 courts going at 4 people per court, or some were waiting, so it's been really popular. John, you work across the
There were
street
50 people there at 9 a.m.
today?
Yeah, 9:30.
Yeah. So, when you want to talk about a supply and demand, like, we didn't understand it, but now it's here, so I guess if you build it, they will come. Adult volleyball pretty much is wrapped up, everything's gone out. Softball, they have 3 teams, so they have 2 8U and 1 12U teams, that's pretty good. They're setting up a new AED machine, I think that's already here, and she's already got it set up. Amanda's not here tonight because she is doing orientation right down the hall in the Drundle room for her lifeguard and bathhouse attendant staff, so that's what she's doing right now. And that's all I really got for Amanda.
All right, Nikki, events?
We're just gearing up for summer, so again, the fountain will be turned on for this season, May 29th. Ben and his crew did go through it, and everything is in working order, so we should be good to go for that date. We do have the 2 radio stations here, and I made a error here, but it's WDEZ will be from 1:45 to 3, and then WIFC will be 3 to 5. The event for the most part is at 3 to 5, and that's when we'll turn on the fountain, but we will have broadcasters here as early as 1:45. And then just the Hub City Concert Series, and there'll be 8 dates excluding July 4th, and I just want to say thank you to all of the sponsors we had this year. Without that, we wouldn't be able to have the Hub City Concert Series, so I'll be unveiling all of them in the coming weeks. So thank you to all the sponsors, and there's still time if anyone else does want to sponsor for the Hub City Concert Series. I will always take that. So just gearing up for end of this month. Any questions?
Fun. Great, Justin, I'm assuming you're gonna cover.
Yeah, I'll do parks maintenance. Yeah, athletic wise, things are busy. We have almost every field being prepped, almost every day that there's a games. They're just playing catch up from all the cancellations they've had earlier in April and May. We do have some interest from a group to improve the Hackman scoreboard. They want to look for a timer and pitch count and pitch speed. So we're working with them. They might be looking at replacing the whole board. It's going to be a cost around $50,000. We're going to fundraise for it and try to replace that, so which is really nice. A lot of special events are going to be taking place this summer. We have already at least 2 run walks that have happened at Wildwood Park. And all the planning has started for Dairy Fest, and it's just around the corner. Stratford School did a cleanup at Wildwood Park. Forward Bank did a cleanup at Marine Park. And landscaping is being currently installed, and it might be done as of today. So it was done by volunteers as well as Shallows Nursery, and they gave a nice donation towards the pickleball project. All the shelters have been cleaned, mowing has started, restrooms are open, we are ready for summer, and we're just getting Band-Aid ready for opening. Forestry, I think this is one we mentioned last time, but they did plant 140 trees at Brant Park in April, and landscape beds have been mulched and sprayed for weeds. I'll let Kyle, you got the report in front of you?
Sure.
The zoo.
Yeah, of course. The current zoo hours are 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. daily. Just this last week, we had our vet rounds for the elk. We tranquilized all 7 of them. They went down pretty easy within 10 minutes. The drench is just a big steel rod that goes down their throat and goes and actually takes the deworming serum right to their gut, and it really helps it work out better that way. They don't work like regular livestock. You can't just drench them down their back. Star, the cougar, the mountain lion, turns 17, which is incredibly geriatric for a mountain lion. Big cat years are the same thing as dog years, so it's basically like a 17-year-old golden retriever. It's really insane. I'm trying to put the fast pass on getting some new mountain lions. I'm in contact with the ACA tag coordinator for the mountain lion species. She'll let me know if we get a pair of orphans from Colorado, Wyoming. They'll be rescues. I'm doing a really good job for Star right now, I think. Physically, she's showing really well in her liver and heart values. Mentally, she's struggling, so I'd like to get in some, she had her brother living with her whole life. We really should get her some friends in there, so she just has somebody to see, interact with throughout the day when I'm working with the other animals. The bird flu concern has decreased. I've been talking very closely with our vet, Taylor Marquardt. Now the girls, Elsa and Star, the mountain lion and the bobcat, have been left out overnight. We were locking them up just in case of a goose or something had fallen in there, because the bird flu transmits through mucus, blood, saliva, feces. So if one of our cats would actually eat a goose, there's nothing we could do for them. The bird flu has mutated and it's gotten into several different animal species now, and for birds, it's a killer. And there's no vaccine. But now with the baby geese on the ground, I've been kind of waging a silent war against the geese to get them to nest elsewhere, and that's worked really well, and there's less goose poop on the sidewalks, because I get concerned about me tracking the goose poop into the raptor exhibit, because that's feces. If it gets into their water, there's nothing we can do for the raptors either. This next week we have 4 or 5 school groups all coming. Our education coordinator, Calissa, is doing a great job. I believe we're north of 50 different tours, so it's a great way to bring a little bit of income back into the zoo. And then something new this year, I worked very closely with WPR, Wisconsin Public Radio, for an interview, and then I had an idea, thinking that animals love classical music, it soothes them. We're having a kickoff event Friday, June 13th, spooky. Basically, we're having a couple hosts from WPR, and they chose a different musical piece for each one of the species. And they're doing all of the legwork to make signs with QR codes. So when you go up to a species, and these are going to be active all summer, when you go up to a species, you can use your phone, scan the QR code, and it'll take you to one of 2 pages, the music piece that the host really thought represented that species, and the other page is a donation page for Wildwood Zoo. For the kickoff event, we're going to have the host there on site underneath the gazebo. They'll probably do like a 45 to an hour-long presentation just about which pieces they used, and then I've been working very closely with the high schools around, and then after that we'll be doing a solo ensemble type event. I'm not expecting many people for the kickoff event, but the high schoolers seemed really interested, and they're going to bring pieces that they can perform for their families, and gives them another reason to come back to the zoo and spend more time and something interactive and fun. And that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, cemetery, Amy will have a report in June. Brake Park, I talked about it a little bit, lights were ordered, they should be up hopefully by the next 30 days, and they're busy doing the landscaping. The ribbon cutting is June 7th at 9 a.m., so if you could be there, that would be wonderful. The softball field was awarded to Marwood. That work won't begin until August, kind of at the end of the softball season. Jurassic Park, we're just waiting for the committee to make a presentation. We do have a water leak, I mentioned a couple times, in the basement. We're still trying to figure it out because we shut the water off to that area and it still leaks, so that's always fun. And it's in concrete block walls, which makes it extremely difficult to try to troubleshoot. The MAC stairs, which is, if anyone wants to know, MAC stairs stands for Marshfield Area or Athletic Complex, which is the old fairground softball fields. So it's typically called MAC by us, but the community knows it as the fairground softball fields. Oldman Construction started work on the stairs, but ran into some problems. Actually ran into a storm drain and had to pause it and figure out a solution on how to deal with that. So we are busy with projects and busy getting ready for summer. And Ben's seasonal staff will start reporting here in the next 2 weeks, and when high school's out, it'll be fully staffed. Amanda's, like I said, down in the hall doing orientation for her pool staff and getting ready and getting things set up for our very busy summer. Awesome.
All right.
Oh, that postcard is in your spot for that ribbon cutting thing.
All right, item number 13 is a reminder of the next meeting here. If you cannot make the meetings, please let Justin know, so we know whether or not we have a quorum issue or not.
We skipped Parks and Rec. Item F.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I had one thing, I just kind of, I kind of publicly acknowledge what's going on down there at the pickleball complex. So, and if you had any kind of questions about if we did the right thing by taking those arborvitaes down, we should drive by there and check it out because it looks fantastic. So thank you to Shallows Nursery, and these pickleball players have volunteered ridiculous amounts of time helping Shallows do this, and it looks fantastic. So I encourage the committee to go down there and check it out. Looks so much nicer, and I think in a couple of years it'll even look better. Today they seeded, but thank you to everybody who's involved. Yep.
It's a great group, great group, great. Excellent.
Good, any other items we want to?
May I add something? I should have said it about the bird flu. But the goose and duck population at the zoo has been decimated. This last spring, I picked up north of 80 dead geese, and it's really bad. If you think about the symptoms, it's very cognitive. They lose their ability to walk. Their head goes back and forth. They'll be able to get away from me in the morning and not get away from me at night. So it's very fast acting. So if you guys see any birds that are acting really strange, or just not having the ability to be a bird,
Yeah.
call the zoo, call animal control.
Doing anything as far as like, please don't feed the animals, feed the birds? Do you have signs up?
We've already had signs not to feed.
But we would make, even because of bird flu.
Yeah, we've had signs of why the cats have been inside. We've tried to keep the public as educated. If I see people feeding geese, I'll always stop, and just talking to someone is way better than a sign.
Can I ask a quick question? So
Sure.
I'm guessing that's reported to DNR then as well,
Yeah.
the ones the numbers you're seeing and where it's.
Yep. They had me test the first batch, but now there's no reason to test because it's present.
So
But-
the state lab's not taking.
In the state lab, it took quite a bit of time to get back with that
Yeah.
first batch because they're backlogged with every
Measles.
waterfowl that's coming in.
All that, yeah, right.
So it's prevalent throughout the United States at this point.
Mhm.
It's not just here. They're stop testing, just like,
Mhm.
they just acknowledging.
But there is a lot of baby geese, the ones that have survived, and maybe those are naturally immune.
Yeah.
That's what you can hope for.
Great.
Good, any other items for the agenda?
I just have a question about park equipment. If there's like something that's broken, do you contact you like directly, or who?
You can call our office. We also have a report feature on our
there's a
website.
Okay.
Whatever is easier, I can't remember, it's got a term, it's report something.
Okay, it's on.
It's on the website, or you can just call our office or email us anytime, or Facebook. So we get that all over the place. So whether it's through that feature, that software feature, or whether it be a phone call or email or through Facebook, if there's anything broken at a park, we need to know, because our guys aren't swinging on the swings. They may look at it, they may look fine, but they may not identify that there actually is something wrong with it. We do inspections twice a year. We'll go through them, and the hour after they left, it could get vandalized or broken, and we wouldn't know until someone tells us. So we really do, people, I think we don't like it, but we do appreciate the heads up, like, hey, this is going on, or there's vandalism, especially vandalism or graffiti, that happens quickly, and we'd like to cover it up as soon as we can.
So we talked about previous meetings, having the signs and rules for the parks, right? Is this on all parks, but then is that something that's included on the signs, or could be, as far as if there's an issue or safety issue, the number to call? I mean, people know, I guess it's on the website, I guess, but is that a thought, right? Because I see it now, and then they, in the moment, can address it.
We don't really have a sign specifically at the playground saying, call here for this, because there's no smoking, there's clean up after your dog, we have the park
Yeah.
hours.
Well, so like if you've done those rules, or if that's all together, I mean, after, however that's displayed, but just a thought, I guess I didn't know.
Yeah, we can look at adding more signs in the future, like,
I mean,
it's like, we have a park hour sign, but it's like on when you drive through the parking lot or the driveway entrance, and then we have signs like near the concession stand signs.
I just think two things, make it, you know, where it could be a good report, right, so that it's a safety concern, or it's just something you need to know about to fix or remove, that can be
Yeah,
done.
people have been really good about just contacting us. It's been very beneficial to have that kind of outward facing activity.
Awesome. Good. Thanks. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Brett?
Second?
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, guys, thank you.